We have a big guest tonight, Emeritus Professor Ernest Aryeetey, a man who's lived a full life in scholarship, leadership, institution building, education, and the rest of it. We're reflecting on many things with him. He celebrated his 70th birthday only yesterday, and we've caught up with him to reflect on this journey and look forward as well to the future. Stay with us.
Announcing Ghana's first unlimited photocopier leasing. Yes, from just 983 Ghana cedis, you can lease a multifunctional photocopier and print unlimited. Yes, unlimited and free paper every month. Guess what? That's not all. Toners, repairs, and maintenance all are free. And oh, I'm not kidding at all. And we cover the whole country. Yes, the whole country. What are you waiting for? Just visit us at www.valexlease.com or call 0244 644048. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Valex Lease, affordable document management solutions.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, Mommy.
The second coming. Into all this tension, just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Troll from Kaswa dear. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late?
Of course.
Coffee be the luckiest. Coffee from Georgia be luckiest. From not the because she be luckiest. Me and you coffee be luckiest. No matter why you're luckiest. Everybody go be the luckiest.
That's Kwame!
Send your God the apple boom. If you put it at all, so would the coming of the Son of Man be. Is that his car?
Dial star 712#. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompt and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform.
So tonight, my guest is Professor Ernest Aryeetey, Emeritus Professor Ernest Aryeetey, who earlier this week was subject of a symposium organized by the University of Ghana and the ISER with the attendance of the current VC to celebrate a man's scholarship, leadership, his research drive across many, many platforms. Now, we will not have time to talk about the work of the man, but I'll give you a few highlights. So, Prof, we know in the early 2000s, became a full professor, and he became a full professor in the year 2000. He's noted for leading ISER for at least 8 years or so. He became Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana from around 2010-ish. He's also the founding president of ARUA, which is a very important Africa Research University Alliance, which has produced a lot of good work for the continent. But there are many, many other parts of this man we'll be talking about tonight. We'll pick his reflections on 4 key areas: leadership, which is critical, institution building, education, and of course the economy. Prof, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you very, very much for having me.
Your former university and your former department brought you out of hiding to celebrate your work a few days ago. And it was amazing to hear all those people talking about you and your work. How does it feel to be alive and to have people celebrate you this way?
I must say it was a very good feeling at that symposium. It was good to see many people that I had worked with in the past turn up and talk about the things we used to do together. It was good to see many younger people who had worked with me, whether as students or research assistants, today in very senior positions at the university and in other places. So it was a very great homecoming for me. It was good to reconnect with everybody.
Is it fair to say, of all the things you've done, Legon will be the center? Because I know you did a bit of tech Germany, Dortmund, taught in Yale and other places. But it seems as if the whole thing revolves around Legon, correct?
Oh, yes. My whole working life has been centered around the University of Ghana. So many of the things I've done, I did them from Legon. Either taking a leave of absence or sabbatical leave or some arrangement that allows me to go and come. I used to say to my friends at the university and elsewhere that one good reason for remaining at a university in Ghana and even elsewhere is that it gives you a lot of freedom, a lot of space to do many different things, a kind of space you would never find in any organization, but only a university can allow you that. And universities allow you that simply because they need you to be able to do the work that they have for you. But they also need the experience you bring from other places. You know, so that's what kept me at the university for almost 4 decades.
You entered Legon as a staff in 1986.
86, yes.
But I believe you studied in 78.
Yes, I left in 78 as a student.
Who were some of your mates at the university?
Oh, I've had quite a few mates. Dr. Nino Eshon was a year ahead of me, but basically the person I should study with. So whenever I think of economics at Legon, he's the man that comes to mind. I had friends like Edidam Nuchuga, Labio Dam in economics class. There were quite a good number of people that are around today. And you know, at Bank of Ghana, Alex Che was my mate from Achimota School, and then went to Bank of Ghana after Legon. We were Betha Smith was at Bank of Ghana. I had quite a number of my mates join Bank of Ghana.
So Nino Ashon was your mate?
He was a year ahead of me.
But Nick Kwaku Ashon was a head of Department of Economics.
Nick Kwaku Soa.
Soa?
Yes.
He was much your senior?
He was 2 years my senior.
I see. But when did you finish Achimota School?
I left Achimota in 73.
Wow.
I left Achimota in 73, and then I went to Presec for 2 years for sixth form. So I left Presec in 75. That's when I came to Legon from 75 to 78.
Which means by the time Nkrumah was overthrown in 66, you were in...
I was in primary school, no.
Primary school?
Yeah. I went to Achimota School in 68.
Wow.
Yes.
Who were some of your prominent Achimota mates?
Prominent Achimota mates, I have quite a few of them. I think of Kofi Boateng, who was a CEO of a GTP for many years. I think of Mirini Benya, who was Ghana's ambassador to Italy. I think of Anna Bosman, who came to sixth form and then became ambassador.
I think she went to Holy Child.
Precisely, you know. So I've had quite a few mates here.
It seems as if your life has been shaped by some interesting paths. So you studied, of course, economics and statistics at the university. Were you always a science student, or were you in the arts?
You know, in Achimota School, we didn't make a clear distinction between a science student and an art student. Everybody did science, and you had the opportunity to do some art subjects. So if you wanted to pursue a career in the sciences, what you did was beyond the general science, you did additional general science and additional mathematics. So those two additional subjects that allowed you to do science in the sixth form. The good thing about it is that it gave you a choice. So you didn't have to decide whether you're going to be a doctor or an engineer before Form 5. You could decide that later.
I see.
So I did additional mathematics, additional general science, and with that I went to sixth form. It was the sixth form that I decided that I wasn't going to continue on the science track and moved into economics, English literature, and history.
At Legon?
No, at Presec.
So you did economics, English literature, and history?
Yeah.
So when you went to Legon, it was economics you were going to study?
Precisely.
With statistics as your minor. And you were in Mensa Sabah.
I was in Mensa Sabah, yes.
I see. So you left Legon in 78. So basically, you were in the university at Champon years?
Yes.
I see.
Very
so
much
you saw Operation Feed yourself as an
I saw everything, and we had our own views about everything that took place. It was a very different university from the one that I see today, in the sense that students were very, very alert, very much socially minded. We were very interested in the politics of the time, not necessarily to be participants in it, but basically as stakeholders whose interests needed to be protected. So yes, there was a lot of agitation, a lot of student strife in those days, yes.
Is it a useful thing to try and assess our former presidents and compare them? Is it a useful exercise? Because, of course, you are a development economist. So I'm asking this because since you were investing at Champon's time, upon reflection, reading people like Bafwa Jimanduya, it would seem to me as if Champon actually had better intentions than had been sold to me when I was in the university. Because in the 2000s, he was caricatured as just one of the military dictators. But he seemed to have a plan. So I don't know what you think of someone like a Champon.
You know, that's a very tough question. It's one that I've written about in the work I'm doing. I tend to, when I look at politicians, I tend to distinguish between what the character is and what the policies that they pursue are. So, Champon is one person who I always describe as well-intentioned, well-meaning, but basically they didn't get his policies right. Yeah. So, whenever I've seen arguments or discussions of whether Champon was a good leader or a bad leader, I see a struggle between, was he a good man or was he a bad man? And that is not how to look at it. He could have been a very good man who simply made mistakes, as most of us do all the time, yes. So his approach to governance left a lot to be desired. But he said the right things. He had the right intention. He knew how to provide for the well-being of people, which is very different from, yes, I'm doing the right thing. So you mentioned earlier in your intro about Operation Feed Yourself. Was it a good thing? These are things you do when you're desperate. When you're desperate for results, but if you have a structured approach to policy making, you don't have to wait until you are in a difficult situation. Let's go and do Operation Feed Yourself.
So you are forced to do some of those things. I see. What about Kwame Nkrumah?
Kwame Nkrumah, again, clear visionary who knew exactly how he wanted to transform Ghana and wrote about it, talked about it, tried to do things. In the end, he didn't get the results he was looking for. You know, so when I see the arguments among Ghanaian scholars coming back later about whether Nkrumah was the best, or look, Nkrumah was probably the most visionary we've ever had. Did he get the results he was looking for? No, he did not get the results. Why? Did somebody conspire against him? That's what people argue. I believe he made mistakes. He made mistakes like most African leaders. He made the mistake of thinking that the challenge ahead of us was a very simple one that was created only because of colonial history. It went beyond that. There was a bigger problem that people like him didn't see. Today, with all the information that's available to us, we are able to assess that a lot more objectively. We are able to look at what was Ghana like at the time we were fighting for independence. So what were the options that were open to us? What were the things that we knew we could do and those that we were only dreaming about? You can't turn your dreams into policies overnight. You've got to assess yourself. The politics of the time and the economic actions of the time were very much at variance. So you can't try very hard to industrialize Ghana when you're not building the markets, when you're not building the institutions, when you're not producing investors. You know, the nation couldn't do the investments, but we behaved as if, if we don't have investors, the state could do it. It didn't happen.
So history always tells us that there were mistakes made. What about Rawlings? He has the longest serving.
Rawlings, very much, I mean, he came to power largely filled with anger. When Rawlings came, I was doing my national service. So I saw it all. I saw it when he came the first time. I saw it when he came the second time. The anger in him drove everything that he did. There wasn't much room for stakeholders with different interests to sit down and negotiate those interests. There wasn't anything like that. So look at the PNDC days. That's exactly what happened. So what kind of policies we pursued were driven by how people interpreted Rawlings's anger, how he would see things and therefore react to them, and what it would mean for them personally. When you build a nation on that basis, you're not going to get the best. And so, yes, we did some right things in the period. There were many other things we could have done that we didn't do. And today, what we have is a fallout from that process.
Some people think that the 19 years he had was probably a missed opportunity in the sense that for countries that are in a development stage, a long, stable government could be a good platform, and they point to Asia. So it seems as if the democracy, which has this 4-year or 8-year revolving door, may have come too early for some, because they feel like if we had had some stability within the 17, 18, 19 years that he was there, that could have been the foundation. So they see his period as a missed opportunity for economic takeoff.
In a way, I have some sympathy for that view. We could have done a lot more if we were so minded. Where we, at the time Rawlings came and then we pursued structural adjustment, were we thinking long term? Rawlings was thinking about how he could feed the Ghanaians so that they would not be disappointed in him. He was thinking about how he could feed them immediately. He wasn't thinking about 10 years from today, 20 years from today. Well, we have an economy that can provide jobs for young people. There wasn't anybody thinking about that. I remember in my debates those days with the people from the Ministry of Finance, Bank of Ghana, it was always about firefighting. And I used to say, you can't fight the same fire for 19 years. After a while, the fire will completely devour you. That's what we were doing. We spent 19 years fighting fires because the world that was supporting us, the World Bank, the IMF, they were thinking always about how to deal with today's issues. Nobody was thinking adequately about long term.
Which is why in one of your work you separate structural adjustment from structural transformation.
Precisely, yeah.
So you resolve the IMF question by saying they help you fight a fire, but it's responsibility to plan your transformation.
Precisely. I mean, in a way, when we went to the Washington group to seek support for what we were doing, we didn't always go to them with a clear plan of what we wanted. We often went and said, look, we want to do something about agriculture. Then they say, okay, fine, we'll send you some experts to come and help you. Those experts are coming from different countries. They are going to sell to you what they do in their own countries. And that's the kind of thing that, it wasn't just Ghana, it was most African countries. Because we had not invested enough in building the capacity of people who could tell the government, if we want to transform agriculture, this is how best to do it. If we want to improve on health, this is how to do it. If we want to improve on education, this is how to do it. You don't let a World Bank consultant come and tell you what you need to do. You should be telling him or her, this is what I want to do. Can you help me structure it? Can you help me design it? Not asking them, what should I do?
So that seems to be the missing element. And we'll come back to that because I think when you led this Africa Research Alliance, it was all part of that, owning. But I'm still on the leadership because political leadership is very visible, right? Do you think and let me ask this carefully, the 92 Constitution and the type of democracy it has evolved, reflecting on it 32 years, has it lived up to its expectation? And I'm still on the economic point. I'm still on economic transformation
Yeah.
because I believe for you and your colleagues, your main passion is to transform Africa's economy, right? So has from 93 to 2025, has it lived up to its billion economically?
Obviously not. I gave a talk about 5 years ago in Helsinki, where the focus was on democracy and the economic development in Africa. There were many people who would argue that democracy has failed Africa. I don't agree. Democracy has not delivered what it should for Africa. That's true, but it hasn't failed Africa. Africa has not used democracy properly. Africa has abused democracy, not taken advantage of the opportunities that could come from democracy. So if I think about the Constitution of Ghana, the problem we have in Ghana is not the Constitution. The problem is the people responsible for implementing or enforcing the Constitution. The problem is the new culture, political culture that we created riding on the back of democracy or hiding behind democracy. We created a culture in Ghana where, because people are fighting for political authority, anybody and anything that guarantees them assurance of political power, they hold on to it. So we created, using the Constitution, a presidency that should theoretically be constrained in the exercise of its power by a judiciary, by a legislature, and so on. We've watched over the years politicians from both major parties destroy the institutions that are supposed to be keeping an eye on what they do. You know, we've destroyed the judiciary. We've destroyed the public service completely. Today, there's hardly a civil service that can tell any politician this is the right thing to do. Everybody's afraid. We've turned every civil servant into a politician. We've destroyed, so you have a parliament that is supposed to be independent of the executive. And yet, we've seen over the years. So it is this new culture that we, whether as voters or as independent stakeholders, have allowed to fester. That is the problem. It is not democracy. We've allowed people to entrench themselves in positions where everybody is beholden to one person, where even judges are afraid of what the president's office will say. You know, it is not of, I'm not talking about the current situation, but it's something that we have allowed. Judges giving judgment in court are thinking about what the government will say. You know, lecturers teaching at the university are thinking about what the government will say about what they've said. They are afraid of students in their class who are politicians and are likely to go and report what they've said. You know, so we have created a whole new culture that does not allow us to see the benefits of democracy. So it's not the Constitution, it's the human beings, men and women, who manage the Constitution. And they have failed us miserably.
This is the point of view. My guest is Professor Ernest Aryeetey, Emeritus Professor. We're reflecting on many things. We're starting with leadership. And he's writing a book that he'll release soon, which I'm sure will be his memoirs. But he's done publications too many to mention. He's been VC of Legon. He's directed ISE. And he also is the founding president of ARUA. He's a passionate researcher. I'll ask a couple of questions around what you said before I take a break. So you've said it's the way we've treated democracy that has brought us here. And it also appears you are talking about the people. What is your view about, so whose job is it to build the institutions? Because you also said that we have destroyed institutions. So what is a leader's job? To build the institution?
Well, definitely. I mean, it doesn't take more than, you don't need only the president to build the institutions. The president is supposed to lead the process, direct it through his or her vision, and that's exactly what we want. But when our interests move from nation building to survival as a political party, when our interests move from how do we ensure that our party remains in power beyond 8 years, and so all our attention It's on how to remain in power. Whether we are ministers, whether we are parliamentarians, whether we are civil servants, even today, whether we are soldiers or policemen, it's all about how do we, in our group, remain in power. Because being in power brings us many, many benefits. Being in power is the only way we can ensure that our personal needs are provided for. And that should not be the objective, but it has become. It's not just the politician, but because everybody, when we are voting, we look for the person who is likely to give us the things that we want. We are not going to vote for the person who is going to give us a hard time pushing us for structural transformation. We want quick results. So we get what we pay for. We get what we want.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll examine a few more issues. This is the point of view tonight. We're reflecting with Professor Ernest Aryeetey, Emeritus Professor of Economics. He's a leadership expert. He's an educationist. And we're talking to him on many issues. Stay with us.
When malaria strikes your home, it strikes everything. Sleep, peace, and even work. Don't miss deadlines because of malaria. Don't lose your sleep to malaria. No more endless worry because of malaria.
Ole Loco, enough!
Fight malaria back with Vegetem. Vegetem is effective, safe, and fast-acting against malaria. With its alu-alu packaging, Vegetem tablets stays effective right to the very last tablets. Vegetem is also available in suspension for children. Vegetem, tough on malaria, easy on you. If symptoms persist after 3 days, please consult a doctor. This advert is FDA approved.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, mommy.
The second coming. Into all this tension just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Troll from Kaswa. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late?
Of course.
Star 712 hash, star 712 hash. Go be the luckiest. Go be from Georgia, be luckiest. From not the cause she be luckiest. Yeah, you go be luckiest. No matter why you're luckiest. Everybody go be the luckiest.
That's Kwame!
Send your God the apple boom. If you put it toy, so would the coming of the son of man be. Prof, is that his car?
Dial star 712 hash. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompts and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform.
So we're speaking to Professor Ernest Aryeetey, Emeritus Professor who, of course, is an economist, but much more than an economist. Former VC of Legon, key director of ISE many years ago, and also the founding president of the Africa Research Universities Alliance, ARUA, among other things. Prof, it seems to me as if your trajectory in life has shaped the way you see academia. So you did economics at Legon. You went to tech to do planning. You went to Germany. It seems to me that you sound very multidisciplinary. You don't sound like just a pure economist in the sense of the word, because I hear geography, I hear sociology, I hear all kinds of things. So am I right in saying that it was the trajectory you took which shaped that outlook to scholarship?
Yeah, it was a choice I made.
Okay.
When I finished studying economics at Legon, I was looking for a way to make my knowledge and understanding of economics less abstract than you typically find in the books. I was looking for how to apply the economics I've learned to solving the problems around me. The biggest problem around us today is poverty, has always been for a long time. How do you use economics to deal with poverty? Where are the poor people? In those days, we saw the poor people as the rural areas. How best to use economics to deal with rural poverty? That's what took me to do regional planning, where the thinking was about how do we allocate resources in a manner that leads to change in the urban-rural dynamics. That was basically what I was very, very interested in. I did that. I learned how to prepare development plans from that. My expectation was, okay, fine, I will do this, and I'll go to the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, where we'll become a regional economic planning officer and rise through the system to become a chief planning officer. By the time I finished my PhD, all of that had changed anyway. But it has never stopped me from thinking, in my research, about how to use our knowledge of economics to solve everyday problems for rural households, for poor urban households, and so on. You will find that a lot of the work that I've done, most of that work I've been talking about things like inequality. Long before Ghana thought about social protection, we were talking and writing about social protection. Yeah. So these are things that have been informed by my experience, by the way I saw things happen around me, whether in Accra or outside of Accra. So yes, it's a very rich collection.
So there's always a special dimension to the way you see economics.
Precisely. I saw planning as applying economics to space. How do we use economic principles in space? How do we turn a rural economy into one that is vibrant, one that is responsive? What kind of economic incentives will make farmers change the way they manage their farms? What kind of incentives would make an investor in Accra want to go and invest in Techiman, in farming in Techiman? Those are the kinds of things that I've been very interested in.
I noticed you liked going to villages to research. Was it because coming back as an economist from the Western world, Germany, you felt that you needed an immersion in local knowledge? Because this one worked with Owari Jechi and Yangtze in Techiman. You spoke about how without electricity, I think the example you gave was that a lot of businessmen said, we don't have electricity. If you have electricity, everything will change. Yeah. So they give them power. 2 years later, nothing changed, except they had one cold store. Exactly. So you're basically trying to say that it's more complex to transform a society, and there's no one magic bullet.
Precisely. That's a point I've always made, that there are times when I listen to finance ministers read the budget. As you listen to them read their budget, you get the impression that they believe that in the coming year, they will solve all of Ghana's problems. And from experience, it doesn't happen. But why do they believe that? They believe that because nobody's asking them the right questions. So because we don't ask the right questions, there's no incentive for policymakers to look for the right answers. It's about time that we started asking those difficult, tough questions. And we don't expect the Minister of Finance to know immediately the answer to that question. But we expect him or her to avert their minds to the question and begin to think about how do we answer it? How do we bring together the right people? Answering those questions requires the right people who will sit down with you, disagree with you, and in the course of the disagreement, it will force you to reflect a lot more deeply about the subject. What haven't we done on agriculture in Ghana? Many, many things. We've spent millions of dollars doing integrated programs in northern Ghana, URADEP, NORIP, all those things. Did it change the face of agriculture? No, it didn't. And have we, in all these years, asked ourselves, how come after so many millions of dollars that we've pumped into these places, not much change? Not much change. The answers are there. If we ask them, we would know.
Do you think it's more a question of implementation or having the wrong policy?
It's both.
Both.
Yeah. I mean, pursuing integrated rural development is a must for northern Ghana. It's a must for rural Ghana. So I don't have any problem with that. When you begin to design it as if it's a political program, there the problem arises. There you are not looking for technical solutions. You are looking for solutions that make groups happy. You are looking for solutions that would make a large group happy and another group unhappy. You are doing irrigation, which is important, but the irrigation is designed to benefit some groups and not everybody.
Or you are sharing fertilizer.
Precisely. So it is doing the right thing wrongly. It is doing the right thing sometimes for the wrong reasons. And we've done a lot of the political economy shows a lot of that. We built in the Achampon days regional development corporations so that they'll bring a business-like approach to the management of our regions. We did it for years. What did we see? Not much. Because we turned them into political institutions, as we've done with many of the initiatives around rural development.
If the way politicians interpret these things is such a big problem, why are you optimistic that research can change anything? Because if I hear you correctly, and I've heard you in the past, you are a believer in research, rigorous, contextual, multidisciplinary. But if the guy implementing it wants to score a political point, that makes no sense of the research, doesn't it?
It does. So that becomes the point at which you push into advocacy. So I've always been a researcher, but I've never shied away from programs like what we are doing today. Long before economists in Ghana was talk about poverty on TV, I used to do Talking Point on the GTV. I don't know if you ever saw it, Talking Point. So I've always used platforms, public platforms, to advocate for particular things. And that's the most I can do. Make sure that the politician at least knows what the research says. That the politician knows exactly how money that has been fed into the banking system for financing small enterprises can be managed. Knows exactly who benefits and who does not benefit from it. So he or she cannot say, I didn't know. It's my job to make you know it. You may not like it, but at least I'll tell you. I'll tell you that you're wasting your money pursuing this particular project. It will not bring you anything. And we used to do that for many public projects.
Yeah.
Politicians don't like it, largely because if you say it will not bring you anything, you're taking away their votes. That project is what he or she is looking at to bring votes. And you are saying that it's not going to yield the kind of resources, outcomes that he is looking for. I do hope that moving forward, it's not just the researchers like me who do the advocacy, but other groups, the private sector, civil society will also jump in and say, the research shows that what you are seeking to do is not going to yield the results. Research shows that there are other ways of achieving the same objective that you have. And those other ways have been shown to yield better results, or much more likely to yield better results. That's how you do research.
I'm not very optimistic now listening to you because the democracy we've evolved and the way politicians interpret their mandate means that it's going to be very difficult to get the right outcomes, just listening to you, which makes me believe that those who thought that having a longer term, not necessarily multi-party, just having a stable long-term plan that we could all follow without the need to satisfy voters, particularly when a lot of the voters may not be as sophisticated. If you look at, for example, the literacy levels of voters in many African countries, there are some people who believe that the kind of democracy we practice will not bring development early. Because if you have a voter who is in a survivalist mood, and a lot of them are barely literate, it forces, in a way, politicians to just do the kinds of things we just spoke about. So the verdict is really about human development, that if you have, if people are better informed, and of course more ethical, then you can apply the knowledge you have to change. So until you deal with those two human problems, no matter what knowledge you get, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah. But you know, the voter, after he's done this for 30 years and is not getting results, begins to learn. And I've seen signs of that in our politics here. Begins to learn that the promises that are being made are not necessarily going to be the ones that will change my lot. If I have been unemployed as a 30-year-old, and I've been unemployed for the past 8 years, but you are not giving me any assurance that you are going to develop a system that allows me to find jobs or a job in the district where I live, and that I don't need to face the only option of moving to Accra and looking for a job with the police or with the military as the one that government can provide. After a while, I become more smarter in how I vote. I may even choose not to vote. Because the vote is not solving my problem. We are seeing signs of that, you know. But I think it calls for many different actors to address this issue, to talk about it. If we all sit down and we pretend that, if we change government in the next 8 years, things will get better, it's not going to get any better. Because the new one has the same culture as the old one. The culture is I have political power, and I need to do everything possible to hold on to it. In order to do that, I give you some money here, I give you some money there, I build a road for you here, I build a school for you there. It's not going to cut it.
Wow.
The future lies in the district being able to sit there and decide that we want to build schools, we want to build hospitals, we want to build factories. It doesn't have to be some politician sitting in Accra who says, I'm going to give you schools. So if you're looking for a school, you look for your MP. No, we should never have been in a situation where it takes the MP to decide where schools go. We should never have been there. And we knew that from all the things that we did about decentralizing, we knew that it should never be. But why is the MP doing it? Because that's how he or she is going to get votes. The MP being seen to be in charge of schools and roads and hospitals and so on, has basically made complete nonsense of all the things we believed in about decentralization. But we sat there and allowed this to happen. We knew it. We knew from research. We knew that this was not the way to decentralize. And yet, for political reasons, we allowed things to happen. Today, if you go into any district in Ghana and say, how do we improve on the roads? Oh, let's go and see the MP. Let's go and see DC. You know, that shouldn't be a system. But they can never provide enough schools. They would never provide enough roads. They would never provide enough jobs. So why don't we think about a system that allows very strong district assemblies to be able to build these things and do things? You know, it means a sharing of power between the districts or the decentralized bodies and the power centers in Accra. And that's something that most politicians would not be interested in, because it takes away what they have to get power.
You've solved two problems, in my view, reflecting on your life, and I want you to comment on one. So for many years, African researchers were not being funded by their governments to do the type of research they needed. So they needed to find money elsewhere. Initially, they would just do data collection for Western researchers. But eventually, things started opening up with World Bank and co. But a lot of these Western institutions may have their own agenda. So you found a way of collecting Western money, but still using it to do research in Africa, which was African, by forming the Africa Research Universities Alliance. So how did you pull that off? So there's money available, but you can do Uganda, Malawi, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and it's research we need. And yet with money from somewhere else. How do you pull that off?
No, it's based on the principle that when we work together, we are much more likely to realize the resources that we need to pursue this. I'll give you one example. Malaria. I know in almost every African country, at least one scientist who has been working on malaria, including malaria vaccine. So I do at least one. But it's just one. So if you're in Ghana and you are one alone, you don't have any power. You don't have any influence. You write your papers, you get promoted, you become a professor, everybody knows you, but nobody cares what you do. On the other hand, if you and the malaria expert in Pretoria, the malaria expert in Makerere, the malaria expert in Ibadan, Lagos, are working together, you become a formidable force. So when you approach the NIH in the US, or you approach the African Union, you are coming as a respected group that has the backing of your vice chancellors. You are coming as a respected group, and you are linked to various groups in the US and in the UK, in Sweden and other places. You have become a part of a global alliance. And you didn't go into that global alliance as an individual from Ghana. You went in as a collective of 15 Africans working with the Europeans and so on. So you become more powerful. You become more powerful because you are showing the collective. You are showing the work that you've been doing as a group. And that work is important so in taking your position globally. When you bring it to your own country and you say to your government, Ghana government, look, this is what we have done as a group, and we are getting results. How are you going to match that? How are you going to match that? It puts pressure on governments. So today we have what we call the Science Granting Councils Initiative, which is the collective that we use to put pressure on African governments to spend more and more on research. Some countries are doing it, some others not so clearly. No, but I'm happy that today, throughout Africa, in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, South Africa, Nigeria, national leaders are talking about research. They are putting more and more into research. They see that it's not simply about a person getting promotion or through publications. They see that, there was COVID came and they're looking for vaccine for COVID, and there were researchers at Oxford that were doing it, and they were working very closely with Africans. They were working very closely with Africans. So the Africans know it. They have the technical knowledge that is required to do these things. You can look at different areas, like the food production. You can look at other parts of health, whether apart from infectious diseases, you have the
non-communicables.
Precisely. So there are many different things where there are groups of Africans. My job at Arua was basically
bring them together.
So I set up a center of excellence on climate change. All I'm doing is finding all those good Africans that are working on climate change. Say, I put them in a room. Let's solve the problem here. Let's find a way.
So you're a Pan-Africanist?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm interested. I mean, there's no point in being in Ghana and not caring about what's happening in Nigeria. Most of Africa's problems cut across, but they are of a transnational nature. So climate change is of a transnational nature. You can't sit in Ghana and say you're doing climate change research and not care about what's happening in Burkina or in Cote d'Ivoire or in Togo. It's inevitable. So you want to see the Ghanaian climate change experts work with their colleagues in Togo, Nigeria, Benin, Burkina Faso, work together. Because if it's water that is causing these problems, the water runs through all of these places together. You can't find the energy solution for Ghana without thinking about Burkina Faso, without thinking about Togo, without thinking about Benin. They are linked.
Wow.
They are linked. And, you know, I do remember some time ago, a government saying that it was going to focus on sending a railway line from Accra to the north. And everybody thought it was a very weird idea. I mean, how do you afford it? I mean, it's a very expensive thing to do. Is it commercially viable in a country like Ghana? But once you begin to think of Burkina, think beyond Burkina
Mali.
and so on, and you think we begin to see ECOWAS as a body that we could easily take advantage of to create markets. Create markets. It will solve our energy problems, it will solve our water problems, it will solve many of our problems.
So we should think beyond just Ghana.
Oh, definitely. 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 I mean, even education. I remember when I was Vice Chancellor, I was always very interested in bringing students from Francophone Africa. I saw that as a huge market. There are young people in Cote d'Ivoire, in Togo, who want to earn degrees in English. The closest to them is Ghana, and yet we have made it so difficult for them to come. You know, it's about time that we saw things in the Pan-African way. I'm not saying it should all become one country. No, that's not what I'm pushing for. I know it's but I'm pushing for countries working together to solve their common problems.
Point of view, speaking to Emeritus Professor Ernest Aryeetey. When we come back, we'll talk about education. He was VC of Legon for, I think, 6 years or so. We'll discuss some of the issues that came through there and end with his 10 leadership principles. This is the point of view. Don't go away.
Uncle are almost here.
Wait a minute. This one too, your friend Kwame.
Wait, Kwame. As in the same Kwame again?
Yes, Mommy.
I'm the second coming. Into all this tension just to reintroduce that broke boy from Kaswa.
Why would you deceive the family like this again?
Now I understand the whole delay. Troll from Kaswati. Why wouldn't he be late? Or be late?
Of course.
Star 712 hash, star 712 hash. Yeah, you go feel the luckiest. Go feel from Georgia be luckiest. From not the cause she be luckiest. Yeah, you go feel be luckiest. No matter why you're luckiest. Everybody go feel be the luckiest.
That's Kwame!
Send your God the apple boom. If you put it at all, so would the coming of the Son of Man be. Is that his car?
Dial star 712 hash. Choose your ticket. Enter your lucky number. Follow the prompts and let destiny handle the rest.
This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're speaking to Professor Ernest Aryeetey, former VC of Legon. He's done many other things, but we'll focus on the Legon one. It seems to me as if the Legon VC role gave you one chance to put into practice a lot of the leadership principles you had learned. And from an outsider who had left Legon before you got there, a few things stand out. The collegiate system, 4-year PhD, salvaging the university's roads, the access point issue with the national security, promoting young people into PhD so they can become, so indeed you need a PhD to even teach. A lot of those decisions seem very draconian and unreasonable. It appears as though history has borne you out on some of them. Can you comment on that? Because you seem to have some good friends and some strong enemies because of the way you approach this VC thing.
Yeah. Well, it's I'm happy you bring it up. You know, I have always operated this way. You are the leader. You are appointed by some people or some group to be the leader of an institution. The only reason why they gave you the job was for you to go and solve the problems of the organization. If the problems are such that it requires a lot of difficult choices to be made, you take the lead. You make the case. One of the things I did at Legon, I never imposed any of the things I wish to do on anybody. I prepared carefully and made strong arguments to the executive committee, to the academic board, to the council. I made strong, and for me, that's what a leader does. You prepare, you know that the university's roads are bad, the government won't fix them, and when people see them, they insult you for allowing these roads to be so bad, so you have to fix the problem. How do you find money? Then it becomes your job to be creative. How do I find money to fix roads which nobody else will? So you reason as an economist that people have no problems with paying for things where they see a direct benefit and where there's no way of avoiding payment. These are the principles that are used for behind levies everywhere. How do you apply it here? You think about it, and you find a way to do it. People are teaching in your lecture rooms, and the students are complaining, everybody is complaining. So there's a problem in the lecture room. People tell you don't have equipment. Okay, you buy them the equipment. So that problem, you have all these people who are coming in, young people employed as lecturers, and they've been there for 6 years. They haven't done anything. They don't publish. I mean, they don't publish because they don't get money as a university. So they are there. Their numbers are growing because you have large student numbers. You need these people to also be there to teach. It tells me that in another 10 years, this university is going to be far, far worse than we found it. And everybody will blame me. Everybody will blame me as if I was the one who brought these young people there to come and teach with. It becomes something like a problem that has to be solved. The solution is not going to be easy. Legon had on its books for over 2 decades that if you want to be a lecturer, you must have a PhD. But nobody was implementing it. So my job was to implement it. It became easier for me to do because there had been the visitation panel that had come to look at Legon after the crisis of the 10 years before me, where through examination malpractices, we brought in all these people to come and help us. And they came and identified many of the things that I tried to do. They said, your lecture rooms are overcrowded. Your halls of residence are overcrowded. You don't have proper sanitation. You don't have this. You don't have, that means your science labs don't have any equipment. You want to fix them. So it becomes your job as Vice Chancellor to solve all of these problems. You are looking for PhDs. You are looking for a decentralized system of governance. You are looking for new infrastructure. You are seeking to preserve your independence from the state. Every education minister wants to control you for political reasons. It becomes your job as Vice Chancellor to take the lead and say, look, this is what the powers given me allow me to do. I've made the case. I've made the case very strongly that we've got to fix the roads. And if we do them, if we're going to do them, we will have to borrow money from the bank to do it. The government will not pay for that loan that we are going to borrow. So we'll have to charge. When you say you're going to charge money, there's argument. There are those who see merit in your point and those who don't. So it becomes your job as a leader to convince the skeptics. And that's what I used to do. I used to enjoy being in the academic board meeting and making my case. When people get tired of you making the case, they give up. Sometimes you've convinced them. Other times you haven't convinced them, but they are tired of you. So they keep quiet. And those who are not convinced about the change that you want to bring, you can be sure they will try to undermine it later. And it happened all the time with many of the things that we sought to do. They will try to undermine, they will team up with politicians, they will team up. So many of the so-called enemies that you mentioned were basically people that either saw that they were going to lose things that perks that they're giving themselves as a result of the changes that you want to bring, and therefore will resist it, or a few people who are not really convinced by the argument that you are making. But so you create space for different groups. I loved debates, and I still love debates. That's why I would like to see in national governance more and more debate. The debate is the debates, through the debates that we will find answers to our questions. It is through these debates that we will unearth new questions and then be able to find solutions to them.
So with such strong leadership of conviction, and a lot of people say integrity, why have you not offered yourself politically? Because that's the reality of the country.
Yeah.
So you are a leader who has experimented with ISE, with Legon, Africa Research Alliance, globally recognized. Why haven't you offered your skills to the nation at the highest political level?
In the book that I'm writing, where I discuss this issue, at the time I was leaving the position as Vice Chancellor, many, including students, would approach me and say, why don't you get into politics and stand for elections, blah, blah, blah. I have never seen myself as a political leader. I have seen myself, on the other hand, as somebody who influences policy making. That's the role that I've given myself, that you are the president, and then you ask me, Ernest, what do you think about this problem? What do you think about how are we going to create jobs for young people? So you, the president, give me that job. Let me come back and advise you on the best way. So, and there have been many examples of that in history. People whose position is to tell you the uncomfortable truths and also show you the way to solve them.
So you'll be a good Arthur Lewis for Nkrumah.
Precisely. I was always hoping as a researcher that people will come to me and say, or just invite me to something and say, Ernest, we are thinking about developing a new social policy for Ghana. What do you think? That I tell you what to do. It doesn't take me away from. Some people tell me when I say that I don't want to take responsibility. By telling you what I think is best, I'm taking responsibility for those options I'm giving you. I'm telling you that they work. If they don't work, you can hold me responsible.
But I agree with all that. But you clearly have more to offer in terms of both research, knowledge, and practical leadership. That would have made you a fine political leader.
It would, yeah. I remember saying to a minister, a good friend of mine who was a minister, we were having this kind of argument, and he said to me, you want us to do the heavy lifting, and then you come and simply, and it's not going to work. So come and let's go and start on the campaign platform and let them insult you on the platform, I don't have any problem with being insulted.
Well, politics have changed you. So are you afraid that because of the principles you have, if you entered the rough and tumble of partisan politics, you would create too many enemies and you would also compromise your principles?
Partly true. I believe that from the way I'm tuned, very few political actors can deal with me. They will have difficulty accepting the things I'm saying. On the campaign platform, I'll be speaking the truth. I'll be telling the people that you will not get this road immediately. Just give us a few years. That road is more important than this one. I will tell them the fact that I believe that if we are going to construct roads, we should be thinking about the returns, the net returns from those roads. So we should be connecting roads from one point of production to the market. That's the kind of principle I'm bringing to not doing roads that take us to our hometowns so that we can go to funerals more easily. So those kinds of things don't bring votes. So you don't want to put Ernest Aryeetey on the campaign platform where he might push away your voters.
So you believe that the political group, irrespective of which party it is, will not be comfortable with the way you see things?
Oh, yeah, definitely not. And I've seen it, I've had that experience over the years. Politicians are most at ease with me when they are out of office. they can sit with me, and then over a beer or two, we debate these things. We are very good friends.
When they're in office, they don't want to hear.
Or when they're in office, you are a bit of a
nuisance.
Precisely.
But I thought that, it's a mixture of compromise and conviction, right? Because it's very clear that our problem is political leadership, and we need our best people to change it. And you've changed a few things, all right? You've changed a lot of things in the areas you've researched and the way it's done, okay? For example, let me give you 2 examples for viewers. So, for many, many years, people didn't even talk about financial inclusion. When in the 80s, you started talking about financial inclusion, it sounded like such an esoteric idea. Interestingly, it was in Kenya. And guess what? M-Pesa started in Kenya. All right? So, and there are many, many examples of that. So, for me, unless maybe your family doesn't want you to do it, or you just feel like you are tired, we need people like you in politics, don't we?
I think I'm too old to be going into politics. But I still think that the system has many people like me. I've been quite loud over the years in expressing my views. There are many younger people who think like me, but don't get the chance to express themselves. It's about time we start looking for them. They are men and women. They are men and women that we can easily. They don't need to be in politics. I always say that I want to influence the policy maker. I want to influence the politician. I think I can do that far better than being the politician.
Interesting.
I want a system where the finance minister says, okay, we've set up this committee to solve this problem, and I'm giving them space. I'm giving them all the resources they need to bring meaningful suggestions. That's the kind of work I thrive in. Today, very few politicians will have the courage to, even if they set up a committee like that,
to appoint a person like you.
They will bring in their own people who will tell them what they know already, so there'll be no confusion. It's okay. I have survived the system. I've survived the system. As I keep saying, it's only at the university that you get to do what you like, so long as you don't break any rules.
Finally, for an economist, your interest in education is almost equal. Because in public life, you talk a lot about education. I don't know whether it's because of your OA chairmanship or your VC or your board attachment, but you are so concerned about education. A couple of questions for you. I think in the past 4 or 5 years, we discussed free SHS and how to make it better. The NDC has come and has added no fee stress. And while that sounds great politically, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think Mr. Prof. Aryeetey would like this idea.
And I've said so already. I've said so publicly. I said so in the presence of the Minister of Education. He disagrees with me, but that's fine. My interest in education is driven by my economics.
Okay.
What is the biggest economic problem that we see in Ghana today? For me, is youth unemployment. That, for me, is the biggest problem that we face. How do you tackle youth unemployment when the schools are not properly structured to prepare them properly for education, for the market? You got to go back to basics and deal with it. And in going back to basics, you've got to think about the basic school. You got to think about the junior high school, got to think about the senior high school before they get to the university and so on. I have seen over the last 30 years, everybody who is made Minister of Education wants to reform something, wants to reform, change something in education. And you know, I get very worried about the way these reforms are initiated. Usually, it is the reform is being initiated because some group wants something to be changed.
Yeah.
They may be teachers, they may be parents, they may be old students, they may be current day students, present day students, and then you political actors. So you ask yourself, why do we pursue so-called reforms when we are not thinking long-term?
Okay.
Why do we pursue so-called reforms? Only because a group that is powerful wants that change. And that is what has been. So most of my time in education has been spent fighting these types of micro-level reforms that don't bring
any transformation.
They simply worsen the situation. You know, they simply worsen the situation. And there's enough research. There's enough research being done not only in Ghana but all over Africa and other places that shows you a type of education that you can bring at the basic level, at the junior high school level, at the senior high school level, that leads to more productive students who are versatile, can go into, they don't need a university degree to be able to do things. But we have built a system that takes us all
into the university.
It is wrong, and it will always be wrong. We instead of finding things for our young people to do, we are simply supporting them to all go to a university.
So you think a better focus on TVET would be will serve us better?
TVET, properly structured, is a good idea. When you do TVET for the wrong reasons, as I've seen in this country before, when you do TVET, as you see it as a way of getting some groups to be happy and so on, it can lead to nowhere. So look, there are many things that we can do in education. TVET is important, but let's do it properly. If we want to do it properly, there are people in this country who can show us how to do it. Instead of making it political, many of our reforms in education have been politically motivated, and that's why we're not getting the results.
Has the BEC SHS system served this result? Because again, 87 to 1990, the first BEC was written in 1990. So we can also say it had maybe 6 years more than democracy. So you tried it. You did A-level, O-level. I did SHS.
Yeah.
Has Jobo been proved right?
You know, these are things that you've got to evaluate in a very structured way.
Okay.
There are aspects of what they were. When I look at the Jobo report, there are many things that were identified to be wrong, and they were wrong.
Okay.
Was the solution that they proffered the right one? I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I can't say today that they were not the right one, because we haven't really done a thorough evaluation of it. Without doing that evaluation, we've gone on to add on to it in many different ways. It's time for us.
So maybe we should review the 36 or so years of the new system.
We should. And I know people in education who are interested in that.
Yeah.
It's a matter of simply putting a bit of money, and it can be done by good experts.
Because you see, Prof, a lot of private schools now are running concurrent systems. IB, IGCSE, OA level, and the rest of it. Some are doing Pearson and all of that. So clearly, parents who can afford it, some of them do opt out.
Yeah.
So maybe the nation should be in a position to objectively say 36, 40 years of WASI, BEC. What are the lessons? How do we add to that?
The nation should be in a position to do that. And indeed, should be pursuing that kind of evaluation. To do it properly, you need to take out the politics.
Okay.
You've got to take out the politics completely for you to see. It's all about building a system that works for all. When you talk about schools running dual systems and so on.
Yeah.
It's simply the elite of Ghana who have found that, yes, we can talk publicly about the system not being great while we take our children
to another school.
A time will come, if we don't change things, a time will come in this country.
Yeah.
If you are not bringing a degree from some European university, the likelihood of you finding a job in a good international institution in Ghana will be extremely low, because we are slowly, even schools like Presec and Achimota that you and I attended, are struggling. Yeah. You know, I'm chairman of the Achimota School Board. I'm looking at the results from, and I'm not impressed. I'm looking at many different things that are not impressive.
And the numbers.
And I can see how these things will play out in future. Today, if we are not happy, we will be less happy 10 years from now.
I spoke to the Ebusapenyi of Infantsefim School, who is proposing that old boys be given a role in part ownership of schools, because he believes that that can unlock money to help the system. Because he says, as you rightly said, he doesn't think he can send his child to Infantsefim School, even though he loves the school, because there are too many students. I mean, Presec has 24 science classes. Can you imagine that? I mean, 24 science classes for one year group.
Yeah, and you need good teachers. You need good teachers. There are many, many things that we can change in education. But to do that, you need people to be bold. Because you have to confront many established practices that are not going anywhere. And there are entrenched groups behind each of these who benefit a lot from the status quo. So you've got to fight. You've got to fight. Even in some places, you have to fight the church. In some places, religious groups. So there are things that need to be changed. And the Ghana government is operating as if it is the only stakeholder. It is not. It is only one of the different stakeholders. And they've got to listen to many more people. There are many. You don't have to be an expert in education to be able to comment in a credible way about education. Once we take out the politics, it becomes easier for many people to express their views. I'm tired of talking about free SHS, but I've tried and asked myself, where in the world, where at all, not in China, not in Russia, where kids go to a boarding school
and do not pay
and eat 3 times a day and do not pay anything? I've been seen anywhere in the world except in Ghana. And when you say it, you are presented as, oh, you don't like progress. You don't like the idea of poor children going to school. It's not. If you are going to take poor children to school and give them bad education, they are better off at home. You are giving them bad. You're supposed to give them 3 times a day food. You can't afford it. So why pretend? When you go to many of these schools, the wives of the masters have become matrons. They sell food to these kids. So the food in the dining hall is not good. It's not coming at all. The wife of the housemaster is ready to sell you whatever.
So it means if you, which is why you can't be a politician, because if you were NDC taking over, you would have changed free SHS?
I said before.
Because they said they can't touch it. Free SHS is untouchable. They said
they can't touch it, yes.
You would have touched it.
Oh, definitely.
You would have cancelled it or streamlined it.
I would have cancelled it.
What would you have done?
I would have reformed it. I would have said, I don't have any problem with some Ghanaian kids
who can pay
who go to SHS for free. Okay. I don't have any problem at all with that. But I have a problem with the Legon Vice Chancellor's son or daughter going to Achimota School for free. It doesn't make any sense to me. It does not make any sense, even in political terms, because I have only one vote anyway. The Vice Chancellor has only one vote. So giving his son or daughter a free slot at Achimota School, it's a waste of resources. But because we have promised others, we can't take, it's time.
Can researchers come up with a means test that we can
easily
present to the politicians that they cannot refuse.
Oh, they will look away. Easily. I mean, today, through various researches being done at ESA, and in partnership with Yale, so we've collected so much data about Ghanaian households.
Okay.
There's a lot of data in many things that we do available. So it is fairly easy today, much more so than 20 years ago, 30 years ago, to access the kind of data that allows us to estimate meaningfully incomes of households and individuals. So it's fairly possible. When you've done that, you should be able to use that for policy purposes. You should be able to use that to tell who needs public support and who does not. But for political reasons, we dare not. I know that, I mean, I would have been surprised if the NDC has said, if we win, we will stop SHS, free SHS. I would have been very surprised. But they could have easily found a way of nuancing that message in a manner that provides for new ideas, provides for new alternatives, without necessarily telling the people that we are cancelling free SHS. There was an opportunity which they missed.
Even if what if the MPP in opposition would have said NDC is cancelling your free SHS and it will cost them votes?
No, it depends on the language that you use. It depends on the language that you use. If the free SHS was such a big winner, why didn't the NPP come back? Many of the parents whose kids are in schools for free are becoming very, very dissatisfied with it. They like the idea of free, but they don't like what their children are bringing home. So it's a matter of having a discussion with them, saying that, look, if you can pay for this, you can pay for that. You can still say it's free SHS, tuition is free, and it's still free, but you have to pay for the boarding house. You have to pay for your
So it's
food.
like the minister has actually announced that private schools is piloting free SHS with a stipend of 950 cedis for private schools. So it's actually it's going further. It's being widened.
Yeah.
Wow.
You see? And so ask myself, what is driving that? What can be the main motivation for doing that? Is there any evidence that it is leading to better outcomes, educational outcomes? Is there any evidence that before free SHS came, we were not enhancing access to education?
Yeah.
The figures that I've seen show that even before free SHS, we were moving closer and closer to our targets.
Let me end with two things. So your friend, Professor Japon, who was Pro-VC at your time and also VC of UHAS, did a presentation on your leadership, and he called something the top 10 leadership principles. I thought that was quite interesting. So he said, problem solving, 1, do not act alone. 2, decisiveness. 3, accountability, which is number 4. 5 is ambition. 6 is anticipation. 7 is confidence. 8 is humor. 9 is loneliness. 10 is consistency. My question, number 2 and number 9 seem to be in contradiction. Number 2, do not act alone. Yet number 9, loneliness.
Yeah. When I became Vice Chancellor, one of the first people that I went to see in preparation for assuming the role was Professor Alex Kwapong, who had been Vice Chancellor before, many years before, the first Ghanaian to become Vice Chancellor. I went to see him and we had a chat about what the job entailed, what his experiences were. When I was leaving, he said to me that it's a very, very lonely position. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you will understand. It didn't take too long for me to understand. So you don't act alone. You consult as widely as possible on the matters that are at hand. But at the end of the day, when the decisions have been taken everybody goes away. And you are left to implement it. You are left, to implement it. And if anything goes wrong, you take responsibility. Nobody comes forward and says that, when the toll booth thing, what do you call it, the road tolling thing was bastardized by the national security. I was very happy with the support that I got from campus, from the academic board and so on. But the press singled me out. It was a very personal thing. So it was a very personal attack on me. People asked me, so do you think you can fight the government? Do you think it was presented as if
Aryeetey versus Bevlo-Latte.
Aryeetey versus the government. And that's how the politicians chose to present it. It suited them. So it showed me how lonely the position.
Even though you didn't take the decision alone.
I never took. I mean, the decision was approved by the University Council. The government of Ghana was part of that. I wrote when the Minister of Roads came to commission the project. He read a speech which said that when they finish, the roads will be told.
The Minister of Roads was there.
The Minister of Roads, yes, he read the speech.
Before they came to collapse.
And when the thing was happening, he pretended he didn't reason about it. The government pretended they didn't know. They had never heard anything about that Legon was going to do roads. And when Legon finishes, the roads will be told. They all pretended they didn't know. So it shows you how lonely. So you must be prepared.
Yeah.
But you when you are vice chancellor and things are going bad, don't expect people to come and say, "Oh, Charlie, everything is fine. Don't worry, we are behind you." They are not behind you. If you fall, you fall. After I left office, 2 ministers at the time said, if we could sack you, we would have sacked you 5 times.
You were thrown in there.
Yes, you have become, if we could sack you. They wanted to sack, they would love to sack me, but there was no way.
We will sack you 5 times.
Yeah, they would have sacked me 5 times. So that's the situation. Yeah.
Wow.
That's where all these issues about boldness and so on, you know that what you are seeking to do is in the best interest of the institution. And there are individuals who would not benefit from it, or they will lose their perks, and so will fight it. You have to be bold enough to confront them. They may be politicians, they may be professors, they may be businessmen. You have to be bold enough to confront them and say, this is what the university needs.
Wow.
This is what Ghana needs.
Wow. When would the book be ready? You've done many books, but I think this is your biggest one because this chronicles everything.
It's my autobiography. Yeah. I expect to have a first draft by the end of the year. And I will spend the first half of next year polishing it up, getting people to read and comment and so on. Hopefully by my birthday next year, we'll be doing a book launch.
By the grace of God, a life in leadership, education, research, and economics. Maybe that's a proposed title, who knows. Thank you, Professor Ernest Aryeetey. Always good talking to you.
Thank you.
We thank ISE and the University of Ghana for helping put this together with their event last week with all the material required to make this happen. So special thanks to Professor Robert Dakwose and his team at ISE, Peter Korte, and all those who made this possible.